welcome back to this afternoon's show on how we can engage with 14 plus young people into education through the means of Southend City College and Bourneville. Next question is for Mike. Mike, how do you think Southend City College and Bourneville can continue to build upon the already established links but have a greater impact in local communities?
I think it is a case of having a dialogue. I think always you need to be talking to people and listening to people, which is really important. I spend an immense amount of time listening to people. We are a very, very big college now, but I always point out we're a very big college with a very small college mentality. Mm-hmm. We operate as, in every sense, as a small sixth form college would do. So we've got campuses that operate, and they're all very different. And I suppose the unique part is every member of staff, every manager has the scope and the authority to go and talk and to talk through people about what's going on. I myself spend a lot of time engaging the community, and I suppose an example is I spend probably more time than even in a small sixth form college with talking to students. So I do get an awful lot of information about what's going on from students, from staff, and very importantly from local communities, because I do meet regularly both with local community leaders, community groups, local councillors, and we're always trying to make sure we're doing and responding to things that are needed. That's positively and negatively. So as much as we possibly can, all the things that are going to be required which will help that area, because my view is if we can improve the education, improve the life of people through education and improve the life chances, it will in turn then improve those particular areas and those people. And I suppose it is about where we can go next. We do put an awful lot back in. We support a lot of areas, and a lot of those areas support us. And there's quite a lot of businesses that work with us now that we can then engage with and engage them in a way which means that they will support local areas for things like apprenticeships, for example. And we work with very large number of companies, including lots and lots of Asian companies now, where we are placing local people into local jobs, but people who otherwise probably wouldn't get to those jobs if they just went from straightforwardly. We have to provide them the skills, the support, and then later on, through their apprenticeship, their qualifications. So an awful lot's going on. And I think really importantly, obviously programs like this are really great because I'm always open to anything that local people can suggest or that we can do to help in local areas.
Fantastic. You touched upon there the size of the college. I'm not sure people fully understand the vast array of campuses that you have, the amount of curriculum areas that you oversee and your managers develop across. Could you just give us a little breakdown on kind of student numbers and the range of campuses that we deliver?
Yes. Well, if you think there are just under 400 colleges in the country, we are now third or fourth largest, so it probably gives you an indication of what's going on. We currently have 8 centres, 8 campuses across the city. The Bordesley Green campus is a very large one, which obviously sits over on Bordesley Green Road, covers technology and engineering, motor vehicle, construction, and a lot of other areas such as English. Our Digbeth campus, which is very well known, right by the city centre, again a very large campus, covers all areas from business, IT, management, music, media, and again as ESOL. Just up the road from that there is a small centre which is predominantly for ESOL. We have a big requirement for English language within the city, and we are the main provider, the biggest provider in the country for that, and also for fashion textiles. We've got a big campus in Handsworth on the Soho Road, which has hairdressing, media, ESOL, a number of other areas. Right down the south of the city, we've now taken over Bourneville College, a very large campus, covers pretty much all range of course areas, and has GCSEs and A-levels, and now has a small school for 14, 15-year-olds as well. And it provides a scope for 14, 15-year-olds to come in, both to do GCSEs and A-levels, but also to do vocational course alongside those, which I think is really important. We then have our Hall Green campus, which is the original starting point, where South Birmingham College started many years ago, down on the Stratford Road. That has hair, childcare, beauty, ESOL of course, business, IT, number of other subject areas. Across in Small Heath, we have the Golden Hill campus, which has quite a broad range. That's a women's only campus. Okay. Interestingly, for some of the people watching today, we do have quite a bit of scope. We're looking at the moment expanding that because it is so popular with young women, predominantly young Muslim women. It's an area we're looking to expand. We have a broad range of childcare, health, ESOL courses, but it does actually fit a lot of young people to move on to university or higher education within the college if they wish. Across in Bourneville, we've got another small campus, which is a construction-only campus. I think that's probably covers all of it. So yes, we are a very large college. It's more about what we don't do and where we aren't, and we cover most areas. But really importantly, we are very much engaged in the local areas we work in. So although we have the main campuses, we do an awful lot of work with the localities we work with, and we go out to other venues, other centres to work with local people, local businesses. We have a considerable amount of work with local businesses, which is both about supporting businesses, but also about getting people, young and adults, back into employment or into employment and getting the right qualification and chance to get there.
That's it. So I think it's important for people to know that regardless of where you live in Birmingham, there is a Southend City College campus or Bourneville campus within the normal travel journey to a college or an educational establishment. There's multiple centres and I think we can now truly appreciate the size of the college and the amount of provision that you deliver across the city.
Yes, I mean we've got around about 25,000 students each year, which is fairly big. We are one of the biggest employers in Birmingham. We employ 1,500 people, so we're pretty big in that sense. You touched on travel there. For some adults and certainly for 16 to 18 year olds, depending on how far away from the college they live, we do provide free bus passes. And interestingly, we've got buses, we've got our own buses and coaches, so we do provide our own transport. National Express support us on that, and it means that we can move students around and also take them on trips. And we take many students abroad who have never actually been out of Birmingham, let alone out of the country, and that I think is really positive for a lot of the students we work with.
Fantastic. You touched upon there, obviously, support for students. So once they've made the move to come to the college, for some young people, that's a big undertaking for confidence levels, for them to come to a college and pick a vocational area or an A-level to study. Once we have them, you touched upon the level of support that's there from our student services teams. What other areas of support are available for them young people?
Very considerable. I mean, we've got some really able, very talented students who come into the college who do really well, and some of those need no support, but actually interestingly some of those will need support. I mean dyslexia, for example, people ignore that. That's not and there is a stigma attached, but there shouldn't be, and we provide a lot of support for people who are very able and just struggle with what I suppose some people call word blindness, but we provide support, which means we level the playing field. So people who are potentially really able, may not have done very well at school because of it, can then really gain. But we provide support in every respect. Some of that is around people's personal requirements, and they may have all sorts of learning issues they've got to address. They may have social and health issues we have to address. But there are then also issues they may have personally. So you might have issues which are with their home life or whatever, and we will do a lot. We have a lot of support workers who will work with them. So in that respect, we're probably unique in terms of the level of support we will provide. Why do we do it? Well, quite simply because what we want to make sure is every person coming into the college will get their qualification, will get out, will improve their life skills, because very often young people in particular, and some adults coming in, have very little confidence. Their previous experience of education has not been very good. We try to address that and bring them to a level where everybody else is and beyond, because the students who leave the college generally do a lot better than they do with other education establishments or other colleges.
Zaf, working on the front line, engaging with students, especially in the community, so away from the college, we've got our first caller on the line. Can I ask your name and where you're calling from, please?
Hi there, my name is Joaid. I'm calling from South Yardley.
Okay, nice to meet you, Joaid. Can I ask who your question is for, please?
It's a general comment first, and then there'll be a question for both Zaf and the principal as well.
Fantastic.
Firstly, I'd just like to say that Zaf is doing some great work in the community. I mean, making a real difference to the youth in the area. But I'm sure Zaf will be the first to admit that, A lot of his work would not be possible with the support of John and his team. Sorry, not John, it's Mike, the principal at the college, because the college is offering a lot of facilities to Zaf, which is not available in the area because youth services are being cut, counsellors are not providing the support. So Zaf is heavily relying on the college. I'm sure Zaf would admit that, the support provided by Mike has been very valuable, not only to him, but all the youth and the community. So my question to Zaf is, how would you cope without the help of the college? And my question to Mike, the principal, is firstly, thank you so much for your support. We as community members really appreciate and value the support that you provide to the area. Now, does your management see the contribution that you are making in the area with the support that you're providing? Because these days, a lot of the organisation just monitor performance by financial success, like how many people are getting through, how much money we're making, etc., etc. But the support that you're providing, it can't really be measured in financial terms, but you are making a real difference.
Okay. So first, I'll put the question to Zaf first. Zaf, how would you cope without the support of Mike and the college to run programmes and engage with young people?
I did mention that, I think, in the previous question regarding if we never got that initial help from Mike and from the college, it would have been difficult. I think the programs would have carried on, but nowhere near within the capacity. I think through merging with other user groups, we got 21,500 groups we worked with, all the numbers with the youths. Then we got the female academy. That would have been hundreds had it not been for the college and the initial chat we had with Mike a few years ago. And like I said, the doors are open. Whereas Javid, who's just phoned in, does remarkable work in the city. He runs a club called the Phoenix, and they've got access to, I think, 300 youngsters. And happily, every Saturdays they bring their kids to the college. They were there last night, and like I said, it's open age, got from between 13 to 16. And again, we're thankful to the principal again for allowing us to use the facilities. And it's the same thing. We've tried with the leisure centres. The price range they've offered us, we couldn't cope with it at that time. And they did say that it's all community engagement. But these kids can't afford £5 a session. And it would have been difficult. So again, they come in with their free will. No one gets forced into that. They have to, there's a program, you sign it, and then you have to join the college. They make the decision themselves. And like I say, it's Anna. But the second question, I want to put that to Mike regarding what you just asked about the engagement.
The second part of the question was, Mike, as a principal, I think we can appreciate the amount of hours you put in because you're here on a Sunday afternoon. So I think that represents the amount of time commitment that you put in outside of the standard working hours. But how do you measure the impact that you have? As the caller said, it's sometimes hard and maybe other principals look sheerly on a balance sheet. How do you measure the impact and what keeps you going?
Well, I think, firstly, and answering the point about why we do some of this, I have a very simple view. We talked about all the premises we've got and what we do with those. Well, if they're sitting idle at times when the college is not using, within the constraints we have financially, and obviously the government has pared back a lot of the funding available, and we have to have money to be able to do everything. But we don't do things on a financial basis. If I can make the premises available, as far as I'm concerned, although we're supposedly independent, they are public facilities. So the more we can help locally, the more we will do. There are obviously limits because we do have to make sure they're covered for students in the daytime, but we do make our facilities available a lot. Yeah. And as Zaf knows, we do things like making the football pitches and everything available to students. And we cover that, we cover the cost of those. I think in terms of the what we do and why we do it, well, those young people, and I have to say, I mean, when I was young, I was probably not the best person. We all end up in really different positions than when we were in our teens. A lot of those young people need that extra support. They need things And if it's not available, then they may well go off the rails. So the more we can actually do to provide it, and working with Zaf, which I give Zaf an awful lot of freedom to do things in the way that he thinks fits, which changes over years, and we give him the resource. So he's actually got access to the college, to resources, to staffing, and a lot of facilities, and it works. Now we could do a lot more. That's why I'm always looking to see what we can get from the government in terms of additional funding. The more we have, the more we can provide externally, and the more we can help the people that currently can't get into college and don't work with us. And it does take a lot of time, effort and commitment from people working with those young people, and we've got a lot of people out in the city who do this to re-engage them and really see where they'll go over the next few years. And I think it's always about that. You see a 14, 15, 16-year-old and think, well, they're having difficulties now. Where will they be in 10 years' time? Hopefully, if we get it right, they'll be in a really good position.
Fantastic. You touched upon earlier, there's a lot of young Asian learners that at the age of 16 are not progressing into FE colleges. And you've touched on an area that is a growth area and a real area of importance that for young Asian males and female learners, which is apprenticeships. Historically, there hasn't been a high uptake in that community, but it's something that I know you've seen in the last 12 months. What are you actively doing to move that forward again?
I think there are a number of things. We've been, I was interestingly earlier in the week at the Asian Apprenticeship Awards, which was quite significant actually. A few years ago, not many of the Asian businesses were really engaged in apprenticeships. We now work very closely with a lot of local businesses at all levels, I mean small and large. And I think people are starting to realise how important it is. Now, apprenticeships are not a training programme. Apprenticeships are jobs with training. So what we are doing is putting young people into jobs with training. If you're an apprentice, you're employed by that company. And there's some very large companies in the city. And if you look at East End Foods, which is a real success story, a few years ago, talking to Jason Aura, the boss of East End Foods, he wasn't really interested in taking apprentices. He now has a number and they're really successful with his business. Within the college, we have currently 28 apprentices. Those people are employed by the college and will continue. And when their apprenticeship is finished, they will then be hopefully fully fledged people in the college. They're people from the local area, and these are people who very often would never have gone into those sort of jobs, because you go into a job, you've got no qualification, no experience, people won't take you on. With an apprenticeship, you don't need to have experience or qualifications, because you're going to get them on the job. You'll get them through the job itself and through the college. And I think it is a case of people waking up and realising the scope you've got. Very often, stereotypically within Asian communities, people want to be doctors or accountants or whatever. Well, not all people, it doesn't matter which community you're in, are going to be able to achieve that. And if you can't achieve it, you can't achieve GCSEs and A-levels and go through a traditional route, there are alternative routes. The other big thing is going through an apprenticeship. Very often these apprenticeships move on to a higher level. And even if you come in as a higher level, you can then go on as part of the apprenticeship and do a degree without any debt. So there is no requirement for any government loans or anything else. You can actually get your degree loan debt-free, which I think is really important for any community, and certainly for the Asian community. It's something I think a lot of the Asian community have been a bit slower taking it up and realising just how powerful it is. But now a lot of the Asian businesses are really getting on board. I think it will start to take off for a lot of young people.
Okay. So touching on there, talking about student finance in terms of if they're moving into a HND with Southend City or Bournville College, or a foundation degree or a top-up degree, you touched on there that now young people don't have to take debt on to achieve them goals. Now, when I went to university, the fees were incredibly lower, and obviously my student loan at the time was nominal. Fees now are 9,000 plus a year. How does the college engage in H&Ds and foundations, and how can you cut that cost down the way that you do so dramatically?
I'm showing my age when I say when I went to university there were no fees. You didn't have to. It was actually provided. So I think the first thing is the straightforward one is that there are student loans. So if people go into to do a higher qualification, the normal process is to take a student loan. But and I do know that, and this applies very much in a lot of for a lot of Asian students. Very often, families will provide that that funding and that support. Colleges and the fees for colleges, we provide the same degrees. Some of these are underwritten, so a number of our qualification, our degrees are underwritten by people like Birmingham University, University College Birmingham, Birmingham City University, so they are the same qualifications at the same level, and we have got the same level in terms of our overall grading as many of the universities. We've got a silver rating, which is obviously the equivalent of a very good Ofsted rating. We've obviously also got a really good Ofsted rating. So we are providing the same qualification at the same level and have the same currency as any higher education qualification, but they're a lot lower cost. So firstly, if you have to take out a student loan, the student loan will be considerably lower than it would be at a traditional university. Secondly, if you do an apprenticeship and either a high level apprenticeship or a degree level apprenticeship, then that will come through the company, and because there's now a tax on companies which they have to provide, you won't have to take a loan at all because the company will support that apprenticeship and support that qualification. So you'll study, go through it in the same way anybody else would, but actually you won't pay because the company will be paying for it, and we can help with that. And anyone who's interested, a parent or a student who's interested, please come and talk to us, and we'll help and guide you through all this.
Fantastic. We've got our second caller on the line. Can I ask your name and where you're calling from, please?
Yeah, my name's Mushtaq and I'm calling from Sparkhill in Birmingham.
Fantastic. Mushtaq, can I ask you for your question and who it's aimed at, please?
Well, rather than a question, it's more so basically I wanted to just give a quick call to say thank you to the principal basically for the services that they provide at South Birmingham College. Okay. And I understand that, Zaf, he does a lot of hard work, and it wouldn't be possible without the authorisation from the principal to allow the services to go on. And in a sense, my kids go to that club, and I remember the first time they went there. I just looked and it was amazing really seeing all these kids and giving them something positive to do and making a difference in their lives. And it really touched me. And even with my kids, they were basically, whilst going there, they've become more confident and things like that. I just think it's basically very, very admirable for the work that he does. And I just wanted to say thank you and praise him for that, really. I just basically thank you for me and especially my children. They mention it to me almost daily to say, Dad, we love that place. It gives them a positive environment. And looking at the other kids as well, it gives them something to do rather than just hanging about on the streets. And I just want to say thank you, really, from the bottom of our heart for the services that he provides. He's a very good man, and thank you very much for that.
No, thank you very much for your call. We really appreciate the feedback.
Can I just, Tom, just answer one question, because I think there was a question in there, which is, will it continue? Well, yes, Zaf will continue. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep Zaf working with the college and funding Zaf, and so that will continue. I can give that commitment. And at the moment, we're looking at ways we can expand it. So there's a current discussion with the City Council about getting some additional money to bring in more people to work alongside Zaf. So it most definitely will continue.
We've got our third caller on the line. Can I ask your name and where you're calling from, please?
Hi, good afternoon. It's Mohammed Bilal speaking from Birmingham.
No.
I would just like to, there's a question I would like to ask the principal. First of all, as a youth ambassador myself, I would like to thank you personally for showing so much trust in allowing him to run his programs at your college so freely. This day and age, we don't hear about people helping, and especially colleges, but you have backed Zaf up and allowed so many youth who are engaged in Zaf's projects at the college every weekend. We see the work Zaf is doing and why the youth chooses to engage with him and then decide to join Southend City College. But my question to you is, why did you have so much confidence, so much trust in Zaf, as we don't hear these kind of stories happening elsewhere? This is a question I would like to put up to the principal that is here today.
Fab. So the question to the principal, Mark Hopkins, is how did you, or why did you also give Zaf so much faith for him to be able to run community programmes when many other local educational establishments maybe don't have that person in place and that link from principal to ground level to deliver programmes to engage young people?
Right. Well, in point of fact, it wasn't only Zaf originally. We did have a larger team, Unfortunately, when the austerity measures were put into place by the government a few years ago, as part of that, we had to curtail a lot of things the college did, because the government effectively took a lot of money off colleges and certainly off us. And this is why a number of colleges obviously got into difficulty. As a result of that, our team was slimmed right down. So it now, obviously we've got ZAF, we've got some other support that we provide around, but it is a lot more limited. From my point of view, what I would really like, one is to have a far bigger team and more people for ZAF to be able to work with around other parts of the city as well. And secondly, and we're already having discussion of this, to engage with other parts of the city in terms of the community workers that are around. So those people can work with the college to help young people, so we can link in. That has been quite challenging really, because the way some of the other public bodies work, they tend to try and keep themselves quite insular, so it is difficult. But certainly my long-term intention would be to re-establish what we used to have in terms of that expanded team, because there are so many young people around the city that need the support and help. It's not just in this local area, it's across a broader area, and there's a limit to what ZAF and the other few staff we have can do. So no question about it. I mean, the work with ZAF came about as a result of things he was doing in the community. He was working partly with the college in a different role, and I just saw in ZAF an awful lot of scope to do a lot more. So we moved ZAF into a permanent role doing this, and I think the future will see how far we can take that.
Fantastic. I'd like to say thank you very much again to TACBEAR TV for hosting today. I'd like to thank our two special guests, Principal of Southend City and Bournville College, Mike Hopkins, and multiple award-winning humanitarian, Zafran BEM. Thank you very much. We have got multiple calls on the line. We will be around after the show. We will continue to take the calls and we will come back to you. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you soon.